They started as 23 all South Korean aid workers captured by the Taliban in Afghanistan. Those still in captivity number 19 now. 2 were killed by their captors. The other 2 were freed. And they've now spoken exclusively to Al Jazeera. They say they can barely sleep, their hearts are breaking, and they're pleading with the Taliban to let their colleagues go. Dan Nolan has the story of the fortunate 2.
They had kept silent about their ordeal, but after consultations with the families of the 19 hostages still being held in Afghanistan, Kim Ji-na and Kim Kyung-ja decided it may be best to talk about their captivity and their release.
Before we were captured, we were taking care of patients and also looking after the children at the hospital in the town of Mazar-e-Sharif. We were planning to continue our activities for the children at a kindergarten in Kandahar.
Still being treated in a military hospital in the Korean capital, the 2 women insist that none of the surviving hostages had been mistreated by their Taliban captors.
We were given basic things, for example food, medicine and blankets. We were not mistreated.
On the 19th of July, their bus making the journey from Kabul to Kandahar was forced to stop at gunpoint. All 23 Korean aid workers on board were taken captive. Taliban officials said they wanted a prisoner exchange, the Koreans for the release of Taliban fighters. The Afghan government stood firm. There was no deal. A week later, the body of Pastor Bai Hyung-kyu was found. He'd been shot dead. The families of the hostages pleaded for compassion. Across Korea, vigils asking for their release. But 5 days later, the body of 29-year-old Shim Sung-min was found. He too had been shot dead. Direct talks between Korean officials and the Taliban led to the first real breakthrough, the release of 2 hostages.
When I was released, I couldn't really feel happy. My heart was breaking. I was thinking of the remaining 19 hostages.
It is now revealed that another woman had been chosen to be released instead of Kim Ji-na. She opted to give up her place, saying she was better equipped to cope with the situation.
We were very worried when we heard that Ji-young volunteered to be left behind. But the Taliban allowed Ji-young to write a letter to her family, which consoled her and gave her some hope that she would come home soon.
Freedom may have brought some relief for these 2 women, but their thoughts are with those still in captivity.
You may think of us as happy now that we're with our families again, but we can't sleep at night, worrying about the hostages that were left behind. I understand that Islam teaches respect for life and love of family. I hope very much for the return of my friends, so that they too can be reunited with their families.
But there's been no progress at all on when their friends will be released. A South Korean source here has told Al Jazeera they're in daily phone contact with the Taliban, but all the phone calls are the same. The Taliban demand the release of their prisoners. The South Koreans tell them they don't have the authority to do that. The 2 sides are at a stalemate, and the fate of those 19 hostages hangs in the balance. Dan Nolan, Al Jazeera, Kabul.